The only thing better than seeing Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti face off in this show is how believable they are in character. But it wasn't easy. From having to nail a complicated list of financial terminology to being hogtied for a sex scene, the cast and crew of Billions have a long list of rules to follow to ensure that their show is the best. And ahead of the 5th season, we're breaking down the craziest rules on the set of Billions.
Don't suppose you'd like to share any further detail?
Well, since you asked nicely, do your research.
We spent tons of time with hedge fund guys and with prosecutors.
We talked to these people really late at night when they'd had a few drinks. They were giving us the playbook.
Billions might technically be fiction, but that doesn't mean the writers didn't need to do a little fact-checking. Thankfully, the creators of Billions were prepared to do their homework, with the help of some of Wall Street's bigwigs. In fact, real financial experts have pointed out that while some parts of the show are definitely exaggerated for effect, most of the heavy financial stuff is totally legit. Bruce Goldfarb, the CEO of Okapi Partners Financial Consultants, gives Billions an A+ for accuracy. He explained there hasn't been something fictional that has felt as real about the Wall Street world since the 80s, and he's not the only one. Real-life finance guru Ewan Relly explained that the show is surprisingly realistic, hinting that the writers of Billions are obviously reading the Wall Street Journal and making real scenarios into amazing scripts. This attention to detail extends to every aspect of the show, including the financial jargon. Before he could convince the world that power is the ultimate currency, Damian Lewis had to know the difference between a short and a short squeeze and how to tell a bull from a bear. Naturally, the best way to make sure that Billions ticked all the boxes for accuracy was as easy as asking for help. You just have to make sure you ask the right person. Always consult a trained professional. Billions showrunners Brian Koppelman and David Levian did just that. From the second they first had the idea for the show, these guys knew they had to make it as believable and realistic as it was shocking and dramatic. But there was a problem. They didn't know anything about finance. Instead, they called someone who did and invited US financial guru and writer Andrew Ross Sorkin to be a co-creator. And he was the perfect choice, because his niche in finance was the 2008 financial crisis. So he knows all about the best ways to portray Wall Street under pressure. There's more. A great story with a believable plot needs epic cinematography to bring it to life, and that's exactly why Brian and David reached out to another kind of professional while filming. A bunch of high-profile guest directors. Famous names who've had a shot at directing a bit of Billions include James Foley, Neil Berger, as well as Stephen Gyllenhaal, the father of Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal. With that much talent behind the camera, it's no wonder Billions has had fans obsessing over finance and hedge funds for 4 glorious seasons. And now that we know all about the work that goes in behind the camera, what about on set? A successful show requires billions of little details that all need to be perfect.
Even though this is a set, it feels so incredibly real, from the boxes and books to whatever the hell this is.
But having a gorgeous set is about more than a great filming location. The props are just as important, especially when you're trying to convince an audience that your lead actor is filthy rich and can afford anything he wants.
It's very important for us to bring in a helicopter, to bring in a yacht, to bring in really expensive cars, because they signify wealth that no one else really has.
Honestly, the amount of dedication and work that goes on behind the scenes to give Billions its signature look is mind-blowing. From hidden meanings in people's wardrobes to making sure an office contains the right type of stationery, no detail is too small for the crew, and we love it.
Bobby Axelrod, he comes from a very blue-collar background, so we've really kept him grounded. When he dresses up and he's in the suits, it's for a punctuation mark.
And that also counts for Paul's on-screen persona.
We've also done a lot of suspenders on him. I also feel like it's a nice nod to what he likes in his private life, which is a little bit of S&M.
It's not just the crew that needs to pay attention to the little things, though. Did you know that Damian Lewis is proudly British and needs to put on a perfect American accent for each episode? That's talent. Speaking of talented actors, make your characters feel real. There's more to Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti's performances than just good acting. These two have managed to win over billions of fans because they're based on real people. This allows the actors to have real backgrounds to draw from their roles, and it's definitely paying off. Even though the show's creators admitted that there wasn't a definite link between the show and Wall Street, that's not entirely true. You see, the New York Post actually revealed that Axelrod and Rhodes were inspired by U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara's case against hedge fund mogul Steve Cohen. Okay, nobody at Billions has officially confirmed this, but they haven't denied it either. It just goes to show that there's more to the financial world than meets the eye, especially because of its ties to the legal world. And Fox's former head of development, David Nevins, agrees. Before he saw the pilot for Billions, Nevins had apparently been looking for something from the world of finance for nearly 2 decades. In fact, when Variety asked him about the importance of the show, he had the perfect answer. The show is really a Trojan horse for examining our complicated feelings about class and wealth, but we also are having the discussion about inequality and what's fair and what's not. Once you create characters based on real people in a similar setting, you do more than just share a message about fairness. You create television perfection with a stellar cast. And that includes the ladies. Gender representation is important. Finance might be considered a male-dominated field, but behind the scenes, that's not really the truth. Sure, there are more men than women in the field, but that competitiveness means that the women who are in the industry are totally badass. And that's exactly how they're portrayed in Billions. In addition to the 2 white male leads that form the core drama of the show, is a seriously impressive supporting cast of the baddest babes in the business, and we're loving it! Not only do these ladies reel in more female viewers, but they add a layer of drama and sass to the already high-tension show. Wendy Rhodes and Laura Axelrod, played by Maggie Siff and Malin Ackerman respectively, are key to the show's portrayal of power couples, and that's especially true for the Rhodeses, but we'll get to that in a second. But here's where Billions goes further, making it so deserving of the praise and love it receives. It's not enough to just have excellent female representation in a traditionally macho niche. You need to branch out, and the showrunners did exactly that when they cast Asia Kate Dillon in the 2nd season, adding a non-binary character to the cast. Because that's exactly what's happening in the real world of finance. As Ewan Relly explains, the character of Taylor, the non-binary CIO, redeems the story. I run an investment banking firm, and we're desperate to be more diverse. It gets better. Taylor's gender identity isn't all there is to the character. They also have epic financial expertise, making it a real win for cast diversity. And since we're talking about the dynamics between men and women in Billions, let's move on to our next cast rule. You need to be okay with sex scenes. That's right, the world of finance also has sex, and in the case of Billions, it goes one step further.
The hell is that all about?
Glad you asked. You see, when Paul Giamatti's character Chuck isn't engaged in legal battles, he's busy with an entirely different kind of fight in the bedroom with his wife and some rope. You get the picture. But not every actor would be comfortable with the nuances of filming that kind of sex scene. Surprisingly, Paul doesn't mind it. In fact, his reaction to being hogtied on set will surprise you.
I was actually very excited to do it. Not excited to do it. I was game. Let's say I was game. Sure. My reaction to it was really surprising. I fell asleep. I had a warm, washing feeling go over me, and I just dropped off.
And the reason for his unusual response is all thanks to his scene partner and on-screen wife, Maggie Siff. Although, to be honest, she had a different reaction to what happens behind those closed bedroom doors. The actress admitted to Vogue that she was pretty nervous about it. I have a lot of natural modesty, and I didn't want it to be salacious. I was interested in it as a function of their marriage, and that it exposed the psychological components of how these people are together. Even more interesting is that Maggie admitted that she's very selective about sex scenes. If they aren't well written and fun, she totally refuses to strip. Thankfully, her raunchy scenes with Paul ticked all the right boxes, or we'd never have seen what happens in their marriage. And as the premiere date of the 5th season gets closer, it's time for the most important rule of all. Work around the frickin' pandemic. Sure, nearly all of Hollywood has been shut down at some point thanks to the virus, but for the team behind Billions, this didn't present too much of an issue. As showrunner David Levien explained, they have technology to thank for that. He explained, "We started doing Zoom meetings for the writer's room pretty early, which was pretty productive. We had to finish post on a couple of last episodes that were shot, and that's been working remotely pretty well. But it was also because of timing. You see, just before the studio closed down, the team was preparing for their season hiatus anyway, so no time was lost for shooting. And that means viewers won't have to lose time waiting for their next fix of Billions. And that's pretty freaking cool. For more info on the strict rules behind your favorite shows, check out our other videos. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay awesome.